Why would you buy a house from a wholesaler? And can you actually make money doing that in 2025? Welcome to this week's REI Weekly Lesson. I am your host, Greg Helbeck. And if you get value from this video or any other video I put out, if you could do me a favor and subscribe to this YouTube channel and like the video, it would mean a lot to me. If you're not familiar with me, I've been doing this business for basically a decade now. I've bought a lot of houses from wholesalers. I've wholesaled a lot of houses. All this information is coming from the real world, from practical experience, being on both sides of the table. But I've discovered over the last few years, there's a big opportunity if you are a buyer and you work with wholesalers. So how do you do this the right way without getting smoked by one of these wholesalers? So hopefully after you see this video or listen to this podcast, you will know exactly how to be a good buyer to wholesalers and how to work with them. So the first thing you got to realize when you're buying from a wholesaler is you never want to trust the numbers they give you, and you want to do the research on your own. I see a lot of buyers, they rely on wholesalers for all this information. They rely on the wholesaler for the ARV. They rely on the wholesaler for the repairs, and they let the wholesaler give them information that's obviously a conflict of interest, because the wholesaler is going to say the highest ARV possible. They're going to say the lowest repairs possible. They're going to give you the inflated comparables. They're going to make it to where the deal looks good for the wholesaler, not for the buyer. So if you're working with a wholesaler, take the ARV that they say with a grain of salt, take the repairs that they're going to say with a grain of salt, and do your own due diligence. So lesson one is do your own due diligence on the numbers. Check the market for the ARV comps. Check the market for the as-is comps. Take a contractor out there and look at the property to determine your numbers. That is how you want to handle wholesalers. Step number one, don't trust their numbers. Do your own due diligence on your own end. Lesson number two from buying from wholesalers, don't count their pockets, right? I've paid wholesalers six-figure wholesale fees. I've paid wholesalers $10,000 wholesale fees. I don't care about their assignment fees. All that matters at the end of the day is your purchase price, your final purchase price, and what that means to you. Can you make money at that price or not? Nobody deserves to have their money counted in this business. It's a lot of work to get these deals. It's a lot of work to deal with the sellers. It's a lot of work to deal with the title issues. Let the wholesaler make their money, right? If the deal doesn't work and you offer the wholesaler 50 grand less than what they're asking for, it shouldn't matter how much wholesale fee they're making. It just has to go off the purchase price. Like, I give you an example. I bought a house from a wholesaler a couple of years ago in California, and I think he made $60,000 or something like that, which is a great wholesale fee, right? That's more than the industry standard. I flipped the property and made 135 in profit. So I basically made double what he made by flipping it. I bought a deal from a wholesaler one time. He made $105,000 wholesaling it to me. I made 20 grand flipping that property. Do I care the wholesaler made 5 or 6 times my profit? No, it was a deal I got for free. That's another thing I want to have you look at. When you're buying a deal from a wholesaler, you're essentially getting a deal for free with no marketing cost, no direct mail cost, no PPC cost. So whatever the wholesaler is making is irrelevant to you, because you're getting a deal for zero cost, right? You're getting a deal for free. It's basically a referral. So don't count the wholesaler's pockets. Third lesson on wholesaler deals: before you sign the assignment contract, because normally how this works is that the wholesaler will send you a assignment contract that says they're assigning their contract to you for a fee, and you're going to take over their position in the original contract. Now, before you sign the assignment agreement, you need to look at the wholesaler's actual contract with the owner to make sure you're not getting into something crazy. So I always tell wholesalers, listen, before we move forward, I need to take a look at your original contract. You can mark out the price because I don't care how much money you're making, but I got to make sure that the terms in your contract are not crazy. For example, let's say you're taking over a wholesaler's contract, and in the contract it says, you're going to let the seller stay for 30 days for free or something like that. If they didn't disclose that to you, you got to look at the contract and see what you're getting in for, because usually on an assignment deal, the wholesaler is getting paid an assignment fee for you to take over their original contract position. So it's another thing with closing costs. In Washington, Delaware, New York, there's high closing costs. So you got to understand, if you look at the wholesaler's contract with the seller, you'll have a good understanding on the closing costs, right? Are you paying the transfer tax? Are you not paying the transfer tax? Like, you got to look at the original contract before you actually sign the assignment. And if a wholesaler gives you pushback about that, they're probably hiding something, right? Because I would never buy a deal from a wholesaler unless I see their original contract before I sign the assignment agreement, to avoid taking something on that's crazy. So those are my 3 lessons with buying from wholesalers. I really encourage you, if you're a buyer, work with wholesalers. It can be a great source of deals. Lesson number 1, do your own due diligence on the numbers. Lesson number 2, do not count the wholesaler's pockets. It doesn't matter how much money they're making as long as the deal works for you. And lesson number 3, before you sign the assignment contract, look at the wholesaler's original contract to make sure there's no crazy terms in there, so you know exactly what you're getting into. And shameless plug, if you're a wholesaler and you are in the Hudson Valley or Seattle or Delaware or Reno or San Diego, if you're in any of those markets and you have a house you want to wholesale to me, send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com. Or if you're a wholesaler and you want to wholesale deal with me, we have great buyers in all those areas. Send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com, or you can message me on Instagram at grego37, and I'll see you on the next REI weekly lesson.